Hey everyone, today we're checking out 8.23 and the start of the preseason. This is when all of the big changes come ready for Season 9. I'll link a video down below that covers more of the system stuff, so like the towers, the objectives, the bounty gold, the rune stats, and the minion changes. This video is focusing on the balance side of things, so like champions, runes, and items, starting with the bigger stuff. So Ezreal's WAP ratio is going to be changed from 70% to 70 to 90, so it actually scales with the rank. His ultimate though is really big. It's changed to dealing 50% to minions and monsters, but it now deals full damage to champions even if it passes through minions first. It's one of the biggest changes, I think, not the biggest, but one of them, because of the ultimate. There was like a massive issue where his ult was kind of garbage if you just couldn't directly hit somebody. Now that's gone, and the damage is the same. It's not being tweaked at all. So if you hit a champion at all, you deal full damage. That is so good. In teamfights, he's going to be able to do a lot more. Like, it's kind of like a nuke, really. It can do 650 damage rank 3 on its own, with 100% of your AD included and 90% of your AP on top of that. Imagine when you have double tier build, right? You actually have a lot of AD and AP together, so it really is gonna hurt. You don't notice that because it hits like a ton of minions before normally, but now if you get hit with this in team fights, like if it hits an entire team, right, it deal like 800 plus damage per person, if not more. It's not even just that actually either. It's Kleptomancy getting a little rework to how it's going to work in game. After using ability with Kleptomancy now, the next 2 attacks grant 5 gold and a chance to get items. Now if you notice, that only used to be 1 attack before. So in theory, it's twice as many Klepto stacks. It could be insane. Obviously, in reality, it's probably not going to be how it works every time, but like for some champions, it becomes insane. Ezreal, for example, could go Q into auto attack. That's fine. You'll get both of them, one applying on your Q, one applying on your auto attack. That's great. In theory, you could even like use your W first into an auto attack for the mark. That's 2 stacks, and then Q into auto attack, and that's another 2 stacks. So you get 4 Klepto procs. Champions like Alawi as well could get like 6 procs 100% with the pull if you're smart about it. Like, because on the Spirit Ghost, right, it actually procs there, so when you're smacking that, you can layer your abilities perfectly to get rich. I don't know if they're changing the loot table or anything, but making a keystone like twice as good seems like a pretty ballsy idea. And also, by the way, I don't know if people are going to do this, but Lucian can actually do this with his double passive shots. There's a little cooldown with Kleptomancy built in, so I tried it, full combo, like quickly, and you'll get it with 2 abilities, so 4 Klepto procs. It's just insane. You E forward, you auto attack with the 2 passive shots, and both of them are going to get Klepto charges, so you'll get 2 procs out of it. So Dark Harvest is also getting a rework. It's a bit different to the first version that we looked at though. So damaging a champion below 50% health now deals damage and permanently increases the Dark Harvest damage by 8. The damage has got a base damage, it's got damage per soul, and then 25% of your bonus AD and 15% of your AP. It also has a 45-second cooldown, but that is reduced to 1.5 seconds after a takedown. It's completely different already. It still does similar damage. I think it has like the base, the soul damage, the ratios, and to be honest, most of the damage with this will still come from how much AP or AD you have from items in your build. From what I can tell on the PvE, it's not completely trash on junglers like we thought, as long as you do gank. Mainly because it's affected a lot by the amount of AD or AP you have in your build anyway, and not just how many stacks of Dark Harvest you've got like it was before. Main things really that you have to know about this, you don't have stacks like it is an active when you have a soul like now. It's just anytime you attack somebody below 50% health, it's damaging them as well. So spells and auto attacks, they both proc it. You can proc it with a Vigar ultimate or Ignite if you wanted to. 45-second cooldown is obviously different as well. So in lane, the idea is that you try and fight and proc this to get stacks whenever you can. It has a lot of synergy with some specific champions anyway, like Zed's ultimate, for example. It pops and then Dark Harvest triggers with that. Talon's Bleed, I think, could proc this as well, but it's actually good on a lot of mages now. Like the AP ratio isn't bad, and if you're a burst champion, it helps massively. Think like a Vigar or a Lux, right? They combo and the Dark Harvest helps to finish them off. I'm actually going to do a video testing a bunch of interactions on the PvE, so if you have any for me to try that you want me to look at, please let me know down below, and I'll try and thank you in the video too. Talia's Q is getting quite a few changes though. The mana cost is down, a worked ground duration has been lowered as well, the cooldown has been lowered, and this new part, hits on the same target now deal 50% reduced damage, including minions and monsters. So jungle Talia is kind of basically dead. I'm really surprised, but this is the biggest champion change for sure in the patch. In 8.11, they added this separate line, so subsequent hits on the same target damage reduction only applies to champions instead of all types of unit. That line, just that one line of text, is why Talia jungle became so good, because you can spam your Q on monsters and they died very quickly. Now they take 50% damage basically after the first shot at least. I know Talia has been a monster ever since that, and maybe they just can't balance her for the jungle role, but they are still straight up killing it. You can tell as well because the worked ground duration and the Q mana cost change, and even the cooldown change, that's all geared for mid lane and trading and pushing. Aatrox is the last champion change, so we're just going to group that in here as well. His ultimate active duration has been lowered from 12 to 10 seconds. It's not huge, but that 2 seconds is less to fight safely, like to dive people with and jump into team fights fights. If you're going to get blown up as soon as you go in, it's not actually that bad, but you have to use it more at like the right time. I don't think it's too bad. You've just got to be smart about the way you use your ultimate a bit more. Like most people would use it as a way to get into a fight as well, but I think that might cost you a little bit more. So there's also more counterplay with that if you just wait it out. One of the bigger reworks as well is to Rage Bait. So the cost has been lowered by 200 and it now deals 15 magic damage on hit. It doesn't grant a bonus AD or AP anymore, but it still gives you attack speed with these stacks, and it now also gives you some armor and magic penetration. This is pretty interesting because I think this is the only dual pen item in the entire game, unless I've just had a massive brain fart. For some champions, this is great, like Kai'Sa, for example. Your passive is magic, your Q is physical, your W is magic, and then your autos and your crits are physical. With this new version, all of those, like all of your damage will do more now because it gets past the resistances. It's actually pretty sick, and a few others I can think of, like Varus or Kog'Maw, maybe even Corki. But the cool thing is a lot of on-hit damage on items is actually magic damage, and Rage Blade increases that damage with the passive, right? So it applies more. In theory, any on-hit build now does more damage, which I think is kind of cool. Even if you're just AD though, like a Marcy or something who is building this, you still get some of the arm penetration out of it as well, which isn't going to be that bad. A few changes to healing as well. So Doran's shield, it now regens up to 30 health over 10 seconds after taking damage, but it's now based on your amount of missing health. So it isn't a huge difference. It used to be 20 before, but it should be a bit better when you're very low in lane and really need the regen. It'll be worse though at keeping you topped up. At higher health levels, it's just not going to do as much. I think the idea is that it's not going to be as safe an option anymore, right? It still helps with the regen side of things, but it just means that you'll probably be lower health in general for most of the lane phase. And also fleet footwork as well. The AP ratio has been lowered from 0.5 to 0.3. I think it's a bit weird, but it's probably specifically targeting a few champions, maybe like a Kassadin or Kai'Sa or maybe even Victor, because I can't think who else really uses it. It's kind of sad though. It's a bit weird, but it shouldn't affect most AD carries, at least only a few who are building AP. Now we do also have 6 other rune changes as well. Some of them are going to be bigger than others. Celerity is getting reworked this patch. Move speed bonuses are 8% more effective on you. So this has been nerfed from where it was before, but this also means things like Hecarim's charge or Siva's ultimate or Zillion's speed, those things will be better than before. It's pretty strange though, because most people will use absolute focus or the CDR in this row anyway, unless they have some sort of like specific synergy. I wouldn't really think that this would be like that worth a take unless like a Hecarim, you actually get some damage from the speed boost on top of it, because otherwise you're just kind of going a bit faster. There might be some like fringe cases like Victor's Q speed that would be stronger, so you could kite better, which might be really good, but it seems like it's kind of weird to take this over some damage. Ravenous Hunter as well is getting its hitting lowered from 2.5% plus 2.5% per stack to 1.5% plus 2.5% per stack. So it's only a 1% nerf, and thankfully the stacking system is the same. So the more stacks you get, the less you're really going to feel this. It's a bit odd though, because it's almost like targeting how good it is at the start of the game or for like the first few stacks, but then it is percentage based, so it doesn't heal for that much at that point in the game anyway. I think most people are still going to be using this for the heals. It's still really good, especially with any kind of mage or ability damage. Now we do have another new rune here, Shield Bash. It's the new rune in row 1. It's taking the place of bone plating. While shielded, you gain armor and magic resist, and when you gain a new shield, your next attack deals a little bit of base plus some bonus health plus 8.5% of the shield in damage. We did a video on this specifically testing a bunch of weird stuff, so I'll link that down below, but it's got some really good synergy with a bunch of champions. Absolutely any shield can proc this, and the entire time that it's active, you're going to be more tanky, which is awesome for letting you survive a bit longer. But the damage side of things isn't that huge unless you have a very big shield, or you can use it all the time. So things like Victor, who can proc this constantly, are actually godly with it. I haven't really tested it enough, but I don't think it'll be a bad choice for AD carries with a shield support either. I thought this would make like Janna and Lulu and Karma like much better, right? But the issue is that the target that's shielding has to have taken this rune. It's nothing really to do with those shield supports. Taking a rune that you can't really proc yourself isn't going to be ideal. For a lot of the game, if you're not being shielded, you just don't get any benefit out of it at all, and you have to go into resolve as well. There are quite a few resolve rune changes actually. The charge duration on Demolish has been lowered to 3 seconds, but the damage has been lowered a bit as well. It still does the same percentage, but a little less base. It's just charging quicker, but doing less damage. It's still going to be a really good rune choice. In row 1 now, it's going to be this, and then next to that, it's the healing if you move and impair somebody, and the Shield Bash. So Shield Bash is very niche. It only works on some champions. The other one isn't that great, really. It's not damage or anything. So this might be like the default choice now if you go into resolve fully. Also as well with the tower plating changes, so when you take these plates off, you get a bunch of gold. It's a way for getting gold if you're left alone with the tower. It can genuinely be a very good strat early game to get a lead, as long as you get close enough to the tower, and obviously Demolish is designed to take them out. So Shield Bash is taking the place of bone plating in row 1, right? But it's actually been moved to row 2, and Chrysalis has been removed. It lasts 1.5 seconds now with a 45-second cooldown, and after taking damage, the next 3 spells deal 25 to 50 less damage each. Now you have the option of bone plating, second wind, or conditioning. So you might actually want to take second wind. Like, it's pretty good. Bone plating is still really good. It's the same idea, but it's actually a little different. If you notice, it's more powerful now. It blocks more damage, but it lasts half as long. So you only have 1.5 seconds to block damage now. It's not something you can like extend over a trade. After those 1.5, it doesn't do anything, but it is more powerful during that. Overgrowth is getting a little rework as well. You absorb life from monsters and minions, same as before, gaining 3 max health for every 8 that die around you. And when you've got 120 stacks, you gain 2.5% max health. It is very similar, but it scales in a different way. It used to be 0.2% per 8 and scale infinitely. Now it gives 3 infinitely, but 2.5% at one time at 120. So that is 8.23 in a nutshell, and the start of the preseason, which is coming in about a week's time. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you for watching the video, and for now, I will leave you with robots.